Okay, well, let's move on to another subject, which is probably much more controversial than the last one, which is the green agenda. So he's cancelled the Green New Deal. He has withdrawn from the IPCC, the climate control part of the United Nations. He's withdrawn from the Paris Climate Treaty. He has said he's drawn an end to the EV mandate. This means past a certain date, the only cars manufacturers allowed to make are electric vehicles. He's stopped that, and he's basically told the car industry to go for it. Which they will, which will have a big impact on the world. And we were going to get tanks, electric vehicle tanks, and Trump's poo-pooing it. All that stuff's going to end as well, and it's the best vehicle for the job. This sounds big anyway, and it's certainly going to affect defence. What do you think?
I think this is a fascinating one because why is he doing all this? Part of it is because the green agenda costs money, and therefore, you have to invest in it to ultimately see the benefits. But I think the bigger one is America is a huge nation, and it's incredibly rich in oil and natural gas, isn't it?
That is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
I think you were telling me that earlier today that it's got the biggest oil reserves, bigger than Saudi Arabia. Massive. So, and one of the things that we forget, we look at Russia in the war in Ukraine. Despite sanctions, Russia, because it's got so much oil and gas, it earns a fortune from exporting those, even if it doesn't do a day's work in any other industry. So America's rich with these natural resources. If you want to make America great again, put money in people's pockets, then you need to drag this wealth out of the ground, not only for domestic use, but also international. And therefore, an agenda that tries to step away from that natural resource is something that's going to be unwelcome. So I do think, whilst it was about EV and stuff like that, there's a bigger agenda here that I think, again, Trump is following. And I what resonated with me a bit is, I was ex-Royal Air Force, and, it was only under the last leadership of the Air Force, there was a pledge to go net zero by some stage in the future. And you sort of went, that's going to put all sorts of restrictions on our military. Surely, as a nation that can't afford to spend enough on the military as it is now, surely we shouldn't limit ourselves to compromising on our operational capability to make it green. We should be exploiting advances in civilian technology if they can make electric vehicles more effective on the battlefield than petrol, diesel, or whatever. Great. But actually, to try to lead that debate and potentially compromise operational capability, I think, is a real worry. I can see the advocates for climate change. It's for another topic for you and I, because there is a lot of people out there who are very skeptical about climate change and what it means. But I do think in the near term, this is all about energy. It's all about resources, and it's all about President Trump positioning America to drill, baby, drill, is what he said, and he wants to get get that wealth out of the ground. That will make a huge difference to the U.S. economy.
Well, I mean, he's done a number of things that are costing money. So no tax on tips, no tax for the elderly, no tax on overtime. Now, they might generate additional productivity in their own right. That'll take time. But somebody said, where are you going to get your money from? He said, well, I'll tell you one place. I'm cancelling the Green New Deal. That is going to save the US $1 trillion. As you said, at this stage in the green program, it is very expensive. The cost of business energy in the UK is pretty much the highest in the world. And yeah, it's 5 times cheaper in America than it is in the UK. Yeah. And that's only going to get better or worse for us, which will make their industrialization much more powerful, and they will become a much, much bigger competitor, for instance, in comparison to what we're doing in the UK.
No, I agree. And because another one of the things he's announced is that there won't be any more of this working from home. All federal employees have to turn up for work and do work in the office. And I do think, again, I know our Ministry of Defence in the UK has struggled with this because people have worked from home for some. They now see that as an entitlement, and MOD is struggling to get people back into full time in the office. I don't want to get into the details of that, but it's it is a compromise. It's good for individuals. It's not necessarily good for productivity. And if you want to make America great again, you need all the elements of its economy firing on all cylinders. And he's made very clear, for at least for federal employees, you're going to go back to work full time. And I think all of this is a clear statement of where he sees America. You can all be involved, but we are going to generate wealth, and we are going to do it and make you feel better, wealthier, more money in your pockets, and feel a better quality of life, and make America feel great again. And I think that's clearly his intent.